Welcome back to Dish It with Des. I am Desiree, your podcast host, and I am here with I don't know if this is a permanent co-host situation or what's going on, but Steve is here
Yeah, I'm here.
again.
I kind of enjoy this.
Okay. You weren't sure about it, but now you're warming up to it?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure about it just because I had a little bit of nervousness.
You said you weren't sure if you had enough to contribute.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I had enough of an opinion, but now like that I'm watching the episodes and I'm kind of seeing different things, I have an opinion.
Yeah, and the whole reason I wanted you to join me sometimes anyway was number one for a different opinion, but I think it's important to have like a female male opinion on certain situations.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into it. We are going to pick up on the latest Vanderpump Rules episode, Galaxy Gaslighting is the title of this episode. And, you know, I wasn't super into this episode. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. I don't feel like there was that much going on, especially with like all the stuff we know is to come. So I feel like knowing what's ahead in the future and what's going on right now, like I almost like wish that we didn't have this information that we know with Sandoval, because
It really
I wish I could
picking everything apart and
yeah,
trying
and
to
also
analyze.
I wish I could watch it like authentically and without any bias, because this is an episode where normally I would have really been like rooting for Raquel, and I keep having this issue where I want to kind of root for her, but then it's hard
Yeah.
because we know what we know. So, and speaking of that, they filmed the reunion yesterday.
Yes, they did.
So that is what I am most looking forward to. But let's get into this one. The episode starts out, and it was like a to be continued from last week, because we ended last week with Charlie and Raquel showing up at boys' night.
Right.
They left
The
Vegas.
Mondrian.
They went to the Mondrian. So we are picking back up on guys' night. And one thing I noticed straight from the start is that James is clearly not happy that the girl showed up. You figure he had just had this conversation with Allie about how they don't think that it's smart to be around exes, and Raquel just pops in unexpectedly. So James gets up from the table and goes to the bathroom.
Yeah, he does text his girlfriend. He
texts
tells her
his
like,
girlfriend.
OMG, Raquel and Charlie are here.
Yes, he's doing everything right.
Right.
And I kind of like seeing this side of James. We're used to seeing James be a little bit douchey in his relationships.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's doing everything right with this one. Now, we
He's
thought
trying.
he was
He's
with
definitely
Raquel,
trying.
but then we did learn that Lala and him had hooked up early on in his relationship with Raquel. So since this is the early stages of him and Allie, I feel like he's doing everything great. And I noticed immediately after that, Sandoval and Brock follow him.
Oh yeah, all three of them go into the bathroom.
Make sure he's okay.
And I know with James was kind of a little put off by it, and Sandoval's in there, and he's like, oh yeah, I don't know what they're doing, and I don't know, his face when he saw Raquel
Was happy.
a big smile. The first person he went to and said hello and hugged was Raquel.
Yeah.
And then they walked off, and then they come back up.
And I'm starting to, like, I've always had this. I've never. Now let me explain how I feel about Sandoval, right? Because I like to give background on my opinions on, the cast members prior to what's going on now too. So I feel like I was always like back and forth with Sandoval. He was never my favorite. There were moments where I would like him, and there were moments where he was like mega annoying. And I think back in the day, we rooted for him more because his relationship with Kristen was so toxic. And I don't think it seemed like it was all Kristen, but I don't think it was. I think that maybe Jax really was right all along. Like, he's always said, like, Sandoval's a snake, and he, like, who he is on TV is not really who he is, and all this stuff. And back then it was hard to believe Jax, right? Because Jax didn't have much credibility.
It was Jax.
Yeah, so, like, coming from Kristen and Jax being like, oh, Sandoval's the worst, we were kind of rooting for Sandoval to just, like, distance himself from those people and become a better person. And we thought Ariana was the one to do that. And now I think we're starting to see that maybe Jax was right all along, and Sandoval just isn't the best. Because in this moment, I feel like I see him playing both sides. Like, he was super happy to see Raquel, but then he's kind of like chatting with James, like, yo, what are they doing here?
Right. Yeah, he's
And-
definitely playing both sides.
Yeah, he's definitely being a little bit fake.
I mean, you kind of have to think, is it because he's covering
Deflection.
something up?
Yes, that's what I think. I think that he's like, oh, what are they doing here? Like, ugh, like it's annoying. But internally, he's like, oh, I'm so glad they're here. But he doesn't want anyone to sense that.
Right.
So Raquel makes a statement that the Vegas trip was the opposite of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree.
No.
Didn't look like the most fun time ever. And she gets into how she had to explain everything to Katie's mom about her asking Schwartz to make out and all that. So she's obviously bringing that up. And Sandoval comes back and he wants Raquel to tell him like what happened in Vegas and all this stuff. And you can
Right.
see that he is very interested in this conversation with Raquel.
He
He
is.
wants to know what's going on and what happened and why the girls were all being mean to her. And I feel like it's a lot of interest for somebody that is supposed to just be a friend.
So the one thing that I noticed while Raquel was telling her story of what happened in Havasu was they kept coming back to Tom's face. She would
Yes.
say something and they would show his face. Now, when Raquel starts talking about what she said to Lala, what Lala said to her about not trusting her around her man.
Yes.
And then she said, well, it's a good thing
Like
don't
you only
have a
like
man.
to hook up with people that are
Right.
taken.
They shifted to Tom and his face looked I don't know how to say
Guilty.
it. Guilty? Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I don't want to say like it was a good or bad face. It looked, I sensed nerves
Yeah.
in the way he was interpreting this conversation.
He probably feels like somebody might know something.
Yes.
That's why they're saying
Also,
that they won't trust
so you know how
Raquel.
prior Schwartz said he only found out like just recently. Now Jax and Brittany were on Watch What Happens Live and they said Schwartz knew for quite a long
Right.
time.
Well, there was that.
There's this constant narrative.
You saw the preview of where they were recording for the reunion.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Cohen goes up to Schwartz and he says, Schwartz, he's like, I have one question. Were you silent or were you silenced? So that's going to be a big question that I feel like we'll have to see in the reunion.
This is what my speculation is, and I'm just going to put this out there from the start. Sheena and Brock's wedding's coming up, and we know Raquel and Schwartz make out at the wedding.
Right.
I think, because Sandoval apparently was pushing him to do that, calling him a wussy if he didn't. I think after Schwartz did that is when he found out. I think that was when maybe Tom and him had a conversation. And maybe he said, like, why are you pushing me to do that so much? And I think Tom might have said, like, listen, like, I kind of need you to help me deflect this. I'm speculating that Schwartz found out very shortly after Sheena's wedding, after the makeout, because Sandoval was definitely pushing him to do it. But if he has feelings for Raquel, he's going to make sure that doesn't continue. Like,
Right.
he's not going to let that situationship happen. So I feel like that's when Schwartz found out. I'm just speculating here, but that's what I think. So Schwartz says in a confessional, and I noticed this, that he says Raquel is thriving and it's kind of hot.
Yeah. Well,
He's feeling her.
I feel like Raquel, she's not
She
doing
is
too bad
thriving.
for herself.
She
she's
looks-
standing up to Lala. She's
coming out of her shell.
She's looking all right. I always kind of think she looks like a praying mantis personally, but like she's not my type.
Yeah.
I don't like those long, lanky praying mantis head looking people.
On the show, who is your type? Out of
Who is
all
my
the
type?
girls. So you figure you have Lala, Sheena, Katie, Ariana.
Probably Ariana.
Yeah, same. Like, I think
Katie is
boring.
boring. I
Yeah.
mean, she's
Lala's
just a
pretty,
blob.
but that personality. I feel like Ariana is like the total package.
Lala is like a good time, Charlie. Like that's
and
you see
Sheena's
Lala
fun,
and you
but
just
she's a bit
wanna
much.
Just have fun.
I agree with Ariana because she's like the most chill, the most down to earth, like the nicest, most genuine one out of all of them. And I think
Yeah.
she's so naturally beautiful. We see her in a lot of moments on the show with zero makeup on, and she looks really great.
She has a good natural look.
Yeah. So, Schwartz is thinking Raquel's kind of hot. And then after that, James leaves. He pieces out of the whole situation. He's like, not doing it. Like, and I love him for this moment because I'm proud of him. I
Yeah.
feel like he's come a long way. And then back in Vegas, the girls return from that weird bar that they were at.
This was a favorite part of mine.
For yours?
Yes.
Okay.
So like,
Take it away then. Go for it.
so they come back and Lala gets a text saying that the
With
guy,
one of those guys
the
that they're
guy's
chilling
coming
with.
back. He's coming over. They're gonna hang out, whatever.
And Katie's like definitely pressuring her
Oh,
to like
she's
do
so
it.
pushing her to do it. And I mean, I feel like she would anyway, but she's doing it so much that she's making her nervous. But
It
I
was like
get it.
very
Like,
uncomfortable. You know
she
what I
had not
felt
had
like?
sex since she conceived her child.
Yeah,
Whether
but
that's true or not,
this
still.
situation with the three girls and the one like, oh, I have a boy coming back. Like this reminded me of when I used to go hang out at like college parties and you would like go with your friend and then like all of a sudden your friend disappears and you're like,
Where'd
when
they
are we
go?
leaving and
Yeah.
where are you? And you're stuck with like a bunch of people you don't, I don't know. It took me back to like those moments of my life and I was like, this is so awkward. Like she's gonna just like the other two girls are there and she's just like gonna go in the room. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was really awkward for me to watch. But obviously you interpreted this
Well, I mean,
differently.
the
You were
part that I
feeling it.
loved was when the doorbell rang and he came walking in. You know, she said, "Oh, you got changed or something like that," and he said, "Yeah, I had to wash the BJ's off."
Yes, because
I
that's the name of the
almost
bar.
lost it.
But it was confusing for a
Yeah,
second because it was like,
and he said he was like the bar. It's
yeah,
called
she
BJ's.
was taking that along a wrong way because she's used to BJ's for PJ's.
Oh
So she
yes.
was interpreting that as not the name of a bar.
So he said that they all sit down around the couch and immediately this guy starts getting super sassy.
Yeah, he was ready to go.
He was ready
He
to
knew
go.
Lala was down, so I mean that was all he
And
needed to know.
I feel like he was just testing the waters to see if he could get a second or third person in the
Ooh,
room.
you think?
Well, why was he being so open about talking about she likes it hot and you like the honey dripping and how it like talking about all wet and this? It seemed like he was trying to make it known like he could handle more than just Lala. Mm-hmm. So they go up to the room and they do the damn thing.
Yeah, and we know for sure because the next day they're talking about it.
Oh yeah,
And Lala says she definitely hooked up with him, and
said it was the best sex she's ever had.
yeah, I think she said he had a huge dong or something, right? Did she say something like that?
Yeah,
Something really awkward.
hung like a horse or
Something
something.
weird.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, anything's better than Rand.
true that. And then the conversation shifts to Katie, like, kind of talking about Raquel being on the trip because they're talking about how, like, they left or whatever. And she says that she definitely does not want to be friends with Raquel. And she feels like she gave her a chance, but she saw her for who she was.
Yeah, and that's fine.
And now with what we know, and you know, that's why I say I kind of hate that we have this bias against the situation because normally in this moment I'd be like, wow, these girls are being such bitches and like Raquel's sticking up for herself and whatever. But then when you hear Katie say things like I've seen her for who she is, and now we know who she is, it's like, okay, like maybe they're not being as bitchy. Maybe they do know things and see things that we aren't on TV and it's giving them a different opinion. Remember,
Maybe.
they're only showing us what they want to show us. So these people see each other in a lot of situations outside of what we see on the show. And I want to be mad at them for being like so mean to Raquel. And then a part of me is like, well, maybe she fucking deserved it.
Yeah,
It's hard.
it is. But they did team up on her a lot and try to. I mean, we'll get into that later because at the pool party they talk about that as well about that same situation. So we'll get into that later.
Yeah. And then there wasn't much going on in the next scene, but James said something. He's with Allie and they're doing like some tarot cards and stuff. Allie's
Yeah.
really into like astrology and things like that. So he's trying to
He's being open about it.
yeah, he's being open
Try it out.
and just seeing like what her interest is. And I like that because he's showing that he's trying to be interested in something she's interested in.
Yeah.
It was a pretty boring scene, but James says something along the lines that Raquel is effing up everyone's relationships. Because we're talking about the whole Schwartz situation right now. We're
Right.
not talking about Sandoval, but in this moment is when everyone's still kind of pissed off that Sheena was telling Raquel to hook up with Schwartz. And I felt like that was a nice little like nod to the future, that comment,
Yeah.
unknowingly, but it was just like, yeah. And they also were talking about how they're definitely not happy that she showed up at guys' night.
Right. Yeah.
So.
That was a little thrown off there.
Yeah. So then we're gonna cut to they're at Pump,
Yep.
the Toms
They're
and
meeting
Lisa.
with Lisa. And again, not really much.
Not much going on.
They're-
She just really wanted to know what they decided because she had given them the option prior to take their investment that they put into TomTom and to take it if they needed to buy Greg out or whatever they wanted to
Right.
do. And then in a year or so, they would have the option to buy back in. So she just wants to know where they stand with that. And they do not want to take their investment out of TomTom and put
They're
it into
gonna
Schwartz and
figure it out on
Sandy's.
their own.
Sandoval makes it because she's like, well, you're opening on the 26th or whatever. And he's like, no, like, because Sheena's wedding is like 2 days before that. And like, we're in the wedding and blah, blah, blah. And that's too soon. He goes, but we will be open by the 31st. We don't care what it takes.
Right.
And Lisa's encouraging them to put it on social media. She's like, if that's the date you're opening, put it out there, put it on social media and get the people here. And that was really it for that, right? Do you have anything to say about that scene?
No, that's pretty much it. She did say like, stop trying to make it perfect because that's how you're going to lose everything.
And that's
they
been
need
this,
like another $50,000 to keep everything going before they can open.
And that's been the issue all along. Like the Toms kind of want to just open, but Greg wants everything to be perfect.
Greg, yeah. And I think it's time to just open the doors.
Well,
and
if not, you're going to
iron
be
out
screwed.
the kinks.
You're going to lose everything.
Yeah.
You're going to lose all your money, and then you're beat. That's
Yep.
it. And next scene was really hard for me to watch because it was a very small scene between Tom and Ariana, but they like shared a kiss.
Oh yeah, I didn't even
nothing really happened there.
Take any notes on that just because it
No.
was, but it did sound a little forced. Where
they still seem like kind of fine though. Like I'm not seeing anything mega tumultuous. Or, like
on his end, it's just like
he seems very checked out.
Yeah,
but I feel like he's been like that in past seasons. I don't know.
I feel like he's been like that in the relationship for a while.
Yeah, for a while. But I don't understand why they buy this house together if they weren't. That's where we are now because apparently like they're both refusing to leave the house. And like I don't disagree because it is both of their house, but I do think because Tom's the one that effed up, he has to be kind of the one to back out. But there's like some sort of financial issues going on with that as well.
Well, it's probably gonna wind up coming down to somebody selling the house and them splitting
or buying
it.
Out.
Or somebody's having to
and
buy
I
the
don't
other
think
half
either
out.
of them have the money to buy the other one out.
Probably not.
So
gotta finish this season and get paid.
Yeah. So you see Sheena and Brock at their house, and they have this huge chart because their wedding's coming up in like 2 weeks. And I love Sheena for this because that's like the type of organization that I love, a humongous chart. But Sheena and Brock are just talking about their wedding, and like Sheena seems genuinely happy. We've seen her in the past with Shay, who was like doing a lot of drugs behind her back, and that wasn't a good situation. And then she was obsessed with that guy Rob for a while. He seemed not interested in her at all. She was definitely very interested in him. It's nice to see her with someone who seems as invested in her as because Sheena puts a lot into her relationships.
She does.
And I feel like she doesn't always get that back from people.
But yeah, Brock is doing a really good job.
They do a lot together, working out
as an equal partner.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like Brock because of his prior situation. Do you know what that is or no?
I don't know what that is.
Brock is from Australia.
I can tell.
And he was previously married and has like 2 children there. There was something that happened, and I guess he has some sort of like domestic violence charges. And I don't know what the truth is on that because you hear his side and his ex's side. But also, he admitted last season that he hasn't seen his kids in Australia for quite a while. Lala was like really bent over this because she's like, how can you not see your kids? And
he's probably not allowed.
I don't think he's allowed.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. And he didn't really explain the whole thing from the start like well. So I think it was like, it almost seemed like he was just choosing not to see them. And he said that his whole reason for coming to America was to make a better life for himself. So in turn, eventually he could make a better life for his kids. But that's why people don't like Brock. I am not going to judge him on his past. I am going to just
I'm
see
gonna
how
take him
he
at face value and
so
how he's
I've
acting
noticed
now.
He's not in a lot of scenes, and a lot of the scenes that he is in are just with Sheena. And the rumor is apparently a lot of cast members refuse to film with him. I don't know if that's true, but that is the rumor. A lot of them don't want to be around him.
Interesting.
Yep. So Katie and Ariana are hanging out. And Ariana says she wants to have a pool party because she's been having kind of a shit time with her dog dying and all that. So she wants to do something fun. So that's where we're going to start getting into. Shortly after this is there will be a pool party. And that's where most of the excitement happened.
Right.
Before the pool party, though, at Sir, you see Raquel pull James aside. And this was really awkward. Do you remember this scene?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
She was trying to.
She pulls him
talk
aside.
To him
Because
separately.
yes, she wanted to pull him aside because she said she noticed that he left guys' night early, and she wanted to just check on him to see if he was okay. So he says that he does not ever want to put Allie in a situation where she's going to feel uncomfortable. So she brings up the pool party, and James is acting like he doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah,
She's like,
I
yeah,
don't think
well,
anybody
is
told him.
Allie going to be at the pool party? because I'm going to be there. So, like, is this going to be awkward? And he's like, well, what pool party? And this is something that I caught on to that I thought was extremely interesting. She says, well, you're invited because Tom Sandoval told me you are.
Yes. So.
And James is starting to feel like, he says it several times in this episode, that Raquel is taking his place.
He's
like,
he feels like he's getting pushed out of the friend group, and Raquel is coming right in to take his spot. Of course, the light bulb went off because I was like, well, of course Tom Sandoval told her who was invited. Right. They were definitely talking.
Yes. So that was a little clue. So let's cut to the pool party.
Yeah, there's not much going on.
No, there's not much going on. But the main thing I want to point out is just how much Tom Sandoval wants to be Harry Styles. Are you noticing this? Is anyone else noticing this? His style right now, the clothes he is wearing, the nails being painted, just even his mannerisms, I feel like are not the Tom we're used to seeing.
No, I feel like he's getting more flamboyant. And he thinks he's like this rock
star now, right? Because he has this cover-up band.
Right.
And I feel like
Cover-up band? You mean cover band?
Oh, whatever. Cover bands, whatever he is, whatever he's in.
It is a cover-up band.
Yeah, it is a cover-up shenanigans. But that was the first thing I'm starting to notice. I've been like eyeing up his look for a while now, and this like checkered black and white pants and
it's like
sweater he was wearing.
Suit.
I was like, yeah, that's like Harry Styles for sure. So I feel like he is, again, not really being himself. He always has to like channel other people. I feel like he's not comfortable with who he is for whatever reason. And the energy between the girls at this party is so awkward because you have like the Vegas girls there, and
they're all on like one area.
It is like so weird.
They don't move from that spot. They're there and that's it.
They're planted.
And in one area, when Raquel is there, she's getting a drink from somebody. They're making a drink, and she kind of walks right in front of James, who's kind of standing by the stove.
He like looks up,
standing back.
He like scoots away.
He kind of like slithers out from behind them.
He's like,
he's on his phone texting. I'm sure texting his girlfriend.
You saw him texting Allie because he was telling her to have a good night at work.
Yeah.
Yep. So
and hopefully she knows that Raquel is there.
Well, I'm sure he told her.
He probably did.
Yeah, he seems like he is being very honest. And so you see James talking to the girls from Vegas. So Katie, Christina, and Lala. And he's talking about how Raquel at guys' night was boasting about standing up to them. So then you see, cut over to the other girls. You see Sheena and Raquel in like this chair thingy outside. And they're talking about the other girls. Like James is talking to the girls. And then Sheena and Raquel are talking about the girls. And it's just this whole awkward situation. And the galaxy light is the topic of conversation.
It is. And everybody lied.
They said that they like thought it was cute.
We all loved it. It was so cute.
They were totally using that as a way to make fun of her.
They even went like showed the flashback from it to show that they were not being nice about it. But
they're trying to say like, no, like we weren't being mean to her about that. Like we thought it was cute and whatever.
Raquel wasn't there to stand up for herself at that point.
Right.
They're just explaining this to Sheena and Ariana.
No.
This was before Ariana came over?
Sheena wasn't over there. Ariana was over there, but Sheena was not. Because remember, Katie and Sheena aren't getting along right now. So Sheena's avoiding Katie like crazy. So that's why she's with Raquel. So Ariana is over there, and they are saying to Ariana that they really wish that she was able to stay on the trip. And you see Ariana sticking up for Raquel in this moment in her confessional.
Yes.
Saying that she can't see Raquel being mean, but she can definitely see the three other girls giving mean girl treatment.
Yes.
Because they've all experienced that in the past from like Katie and Christina Kelly.
And I agree. They definitely did.
Yeah, for sure. But it's just so hard to see Ariana sticking up for Raquel because it just speaks to like the character here that Ariana really is like a good friend.
Not even just Ariana sticking up for Raquel. Do you forget that Tom walks by and starts going in on Katie?
Yeah.
And Ariana disappears.
Yep.
Walks away instantly.
Yep. My next note is that Sandoval starts to interject himself into the conversation, and he starts sticking up for Raquel, and Ariana dips, and Ariana says something like, I'm walking away because I don't want to engage with like a conversation that's you against the girls.
Right.
And that happens a lot, especially between Tom and Katie, Sandoval and Katie. And this was a huge issue with Schwartz and Katie's relationship.
To begin with?
Right. And it was like in Schwartz and Katie's relationship, Tom kind of always like came at Katie, and Schwartz would just be silent. Like he would never stick up for her, and he would just let Sandoval like berate her.
Right.
And they both are strong personalities. They do not get along very well. So that was really awkward to see. So, and he says something to Katie that if like somebody doesn't share her exact opinion, then they're wrong. And he's not wrong about that. Katie is definitely like that. But it's just, of course, Sandoval was going to interject into this conversation to start sticking up for Raquel.
And he
looks pissed off
and
too.
Ariana does wind up coming back, and Tom's still there, and he is literally fighting for Raquel.
And then Raquel walks into the conversation.
Right, he's going back and forth with Lala, and then Raquel walks up.
Yep.
And they're like, "Oh, Raquel, do you have something to say
about
this?"
Yeah, and he is definitely sticking up for Raquel and definitely coming for Lala in this moment. He's clearly heated. He's definitely like, this is an escalated moment. And it's like, now that we know that there's a reason behind that, it makes more sense, because I feel like if we were watching this without the bias, it would be like, why Sandoval needs to have a seat and like go be the host of the party here. Like, why are you standing here arguing with Katie over Raquel? Now we kind of get it, but like, again, I kind of wish that like I didn't know this information. So Raquel calls Lala a bully and says she's pathetic, and that she's learned her lesson with them.
This is the part where I really
Lala
enjoyed
was really
Raquel.
mean though. Like Lala was like, "Oh, are you still talking? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard someone talking." Like somebody, like she's being so dismissive and gross.
But I feel like that was just like Lala was childish.
Yes.
And I've seen a different side of Lala where she would normally lash out and go on attack mode. But
she was being petty.
She felt that like Raquel had more people on her side than her, being with Tom and Ariana
and Sheena,
and she was kind of singled out.
It was very interesting because we're used to seeing Lala be like the bully.
Normally she would have got up and she would have gone off, but she was curled up in almost a fetal position.
She was just like deflecting, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, someone's still talking," like whatever. Is she still going? It's like she was just being really petty, and I do feel like Raquel got her point across, and I feel like she stood her ground.
Yeah, I feel like
situation.
she did what she should have done.
It's just hard because, like, I truly want to be happy for Raquel because, like, there are moments in this season where, like, I am loving her. And it's just so difficult because, like, I just truly wish that I could have enjoyed seeing this version of Raquel without this info. It's killing me because I want to root for her so bad. And I'm just really looking forward to the reunion at this point because I need clarity. I need timeline clarity.
I'm trying to watch the episodes and just kind of be in that moment. Like, I know. I'm not going to look at Raquel and think about it differently. No, I was honestly, like, happy for Raquel about how she stood up to Lala and Katie and those other girls. And it was great.
Because they're definitely intimidating, especially when they're all together ganging up. And then the next little bit is Katie was so annoying at the end of this. So Sheena's wedding is in Mexico. So they're at like they're going to like an all-inclusive situation for the wedding. And something happened earlier in the episode where like her bridesmaid Jamie apparently doesn't have a room. And she called the resort, and the resort is like sold out. There's no more rooms available. Now Katie and Sheena are not getting along, and Katie has a room at the resort because she obviously thought that she was going to be going to this wedding, but now her and Sheena are not friends, and she's not going to the wedding, but she is dead set on still freaking going to Mexico.
She's bringing her buddy Christina Kelly.
And it's like, it's a little weird. It is.
And Sheena's worried that they're going to be there standing her up there watching from afar, making fun of her.
Because she is going back to when she got married to Shay, and you saw, like, she posted pictures, like, everyone else was at the wedding pretty much, and like, Stassi and Christina Kelly were not. They were, like, at SUR, and they were looking at her dress. She had, like, that crop top, like, style dress. It was pretty, but she saw them making fun of her and saying that she looked like white trash and all this stuff, and so I feel like she's feeling self-conscious anyway. Right. Because she knows that those girls, like, have done that to her in the past.
And
so she's expecting them to stand on the balcony and be watching.
I think they are going to do just that.
So Katie, like, doesn't want to go to this wedding, but she's refusing to give up her room because she's saying it's non-refundable. Sheena offers to Venmo her right now $1,000, whatever the room costs. And Katie's like, not... Because that was her thing. Well, it's non-refundable. And Sheena's taking that out. Like, okay, well, I will give you the money. Like, I will reimburse you for the money. And you saw Brock saying that earlier. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if we just offer to give her money back, like,
It
it'll be fine.
seems like a solid plan.
Yeah.
And
So then Schwartz,
she says no.
he kind of steps in. And Sheena, like, makes a comment to Schwartz. Like, she walks out to Schwartz and says, like, your ex is pathetic. And so he feels like he needs to, like, fix this. In true Schwartz fashion, he needs to do something. So Ariana asks Katie, like,
What's your
price? And Katie's saying, no, like, we're going to Mexico. And Schwartz is telling her that she's objectively out of line and that she's in the wrong. And she gets so mad and she walks out front saying that she's leaving. She's, like, I guess calling an Uber. And, like, Schwartz follows her.
Well, the one thing that I remember from that also is that Lala stood up, like, to Schwartz at that moment. And she said, well, no, what you need to do is let Katie
live her life
and, like, let Katie worry about Katie. And Schwartz's response was like, oh, she worries about Katie enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is true. She's always worried about herself.
So, of course, with that, and then Katie in her confessional is, like, complaining, like, he never stuck up for me when we were married, and I thought it was the pressures of, like, me being his wife, but apparently, like, Schwartz just can't stick up for Katie. And you know what? It's hard to stick up for somebody when they're being ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, if that was me, like, if I was invited to a destination wedding and I was, like, so mad at this person now because they were telling people to hook up with my almost ex-husband, I would not want to be anywhere near that. And I get where Sheena's coming from, where she's like, I don't want you there because I don't want any negative and toxic energy around my wedding. And I'm big on energy.
Oh, yeah.
And that would kill me too. Like, this person just being at the resort.
Just knowing that they were at the same resort.
Yeah. And, like, okay, she's like, well, it's a big resort. Like, we don't have to see each other, but, like, you have all the same friends. So, like, if you're there, who are you hanging out with? It's just going to be you and Christina Kelly keeping to yourselves and not hanging out with the group.
Lala.
Exactly.
And
Lala's like,
said,
I would want her there. Like,
yeah. She's like, I want her there. I'd want her to be there.
It's just weird. And it's also just very, like, middle school. These are, like, these are people that are, like, our age. Okay, these people are, like, pushing 40.
Yeah, they're definitely in their mid-30s.
Like, just think
Jax
about
was
it.
40 a couple years ago.
But think about it, Steve. If we were invited to someone's wedding that we, like, fell out with, I wouldn't want to go at all. I would take that fucking money that she's offering to refund and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, be like, cool, yeah, we'll go do something else. Even if you go to Mexico still, like, keep your flights and just book at a different resort.
Tons of different resorts.
Yeah.
Nothing to worry about.
So that was really it. Like, she decides she's going to leave. Schwartz follows her outside, and she, like, wants to call an Uber. I think he offered to call an Uber for her, but she's just like... And then he says something like, well, you look really nice.
Yeah.
And she tells him to, like, go away.
He was like, oh, you look cute.
Yeah. Schwartz, he's so awkward. I feel like he doesn't know how to handle anything.
Not the right time, Schwartzy. Not the right time.
No, he tries, but he is a little bit socially awkward.
He is.
So that was that for Galaxy Gaslighting. Really
Definitely a lot of gaslighting going on.
Yeah, and just not, like, super exciting of an episode. Nothing explosive. But, we have a lot to look forward to.
There's a lot coming.
And we know.
The pool party is not over.
Right.
We were left on their made-up cliffhanger of Katie storming out.
Yeah,
and
who cares?
tried to make it as exciting as possible in this episode.
I'm sorry, but once they release that mid-season trailer and we see all that's to come, it's like, okay, let's just get there.
Yeah, I just want them to release all the episodes at once. Like, why do we have to do it once a week?
Let's just binge watch and get the reunion going. So let us know what you guys thought about this episode. Tell us how you feel about this Raquel situation. Are you also feeling, like, torn in the moment? Do you enjoy seeing her stick up for herself? But are you feeling like the same way we are, where it's like, we like seeing you stick up for yourself, but we know you're a shitty person. So we don't know if we should be happy for you or not. That's all for today, though, right? You have anything else to contribute?
No, I feel like I've contributed enough.
Okay, it's not about the pasta. Right?
Is it, though?
I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what it's about. Thank you for listening, guys. Sorry, we were drinking a little bit of wine, so I feel like we're rambling. Or I am anyway. It's been a minute for me since I've had a drink. No?
Yeah,
You
I
feel
guess
nothing.
So. No.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Please
we
subscribe.
are on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Whatever outlet is the easiest for you. Don't forget to follow me on social media at The Almost Daily Des on Instagram and Facebook, and let's keep the conversation going. Bye.
Bye.